Go. Go.
Welcome back to Wiseman Company, fellas. Today we are going to take a look at the Tech Vudu 1-10. This is a first focal plane that has the SR5 reticle in it. Before we get into the specs and how I use it and what I like and don't like about it, let's talk about some expectation management. All right, so people sometimes like to refer to 1-10s as like do-all optics, or at least they're hoping they would be a quote-unquote do-all optic. It's going to solve all your issues. You're going to be able to use a 1x, you're going to be able to use a 10x. You can shoot things far away, you can shoot things close. It's going to be on par with a magnified optic and a red dot at the same time, and that's just not realistic. I don't want to get too into the weeds here, don't want to go down a rabbit trail. I'm going to recommend a couple great videos you should watch from Brass Facts. Go to Brass Facts channel and look at the video on LPVOs and his video on this optic specifically. He gets into a lot more detail, a lot more of the whys. But before we get started, I just wanted to give you that expectation management. That's not why I have a 1-10 or use a 1-10. It's not because it does everything extremely well. There are some drawbacks, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But again, there are drawbacks with 1-10s. All right, let's knock out some specs. So like I said at the beginning of the video, this is a first focal plane optic with a 34 millimeter tube. So it is thick. Length is 10.6 inches. Weight, if we're just talking about the optic itself, is 21.3 ounces. This whole setup, including the LaRue mount for the RMR, and the Reptilia mount, is 29.09 ounces according to my scale. So not too bad on weight, honestly, when we're comparing it to similar offerings on the market. Eye relief is just short of 4 inches, but that's also going to depend on your magnification setting. Battery for illumination is a CR2032, pretty standard fare there. The reticle is not daytime bright. That was an unfortunate discovery. Really would like to see a nice, bright, daytime bright center dot in this reticle. If we're using it on 1 power, 1.5x, makes life a heck of a lot easier. It's brighter, but it's definitely not daytime bright. The turrets. You have a capped windage and you have a locking elevation knob. Turrets are great, very tactile, audible sounds, clicks. They did the turrets very well. They're very well done. Unfortunately, I'm not dialing anything with this optic. I'm just not. I had this on an AR-15, and the AR-15 is a 0 to 600 yard gun. Just as an example, my holds at 500 yards were 2.5 mils. That's an easy hold. I'm not going to dial that, right? So even though these are great turrets, they kind of get missed on me because I'm not going to use them, right? There's no zero stop on it. Not a big deal again because I'm not dialing that much, but that's something you should be conscious of if you are going to be dialing. There's no zero stop. It comes with this throw lever here, and the throw is quite easy. Nice and smooth adjustments. You can unscrew this and pull it out if you want to. 3 reticle options. There's the SR4, which is the MOA reticle. There is the LE-5, which is an MRAD reticle. And the one I have is the SR5, which is in MRAD, it's in mils. I like this reticle because it has a nice dot in the center. I wish that was the only thing that was illuminated, is that tiny little dot. Again, it would be more just like a red dot if I used it in that capacity. When you turn on the illumination, the whole outer ring and the center illuminate. I wish just the little dot in the center would illuminate. I like the little dot in the center. Makes holds a lot easier, point of aim a lot easier. It's not busy, simple. I like the SR5 reticle. So, but you do have 3 options with this optic. So how does Ben use an optic like this? For me, like I said in the beginning of the video, the 1-10 is not a do-all optic. It does have some deficiencies, mainly on 1x and 10x. Everything in between is pretty usable. People like to think the 1x in an LPVO is going to act very similar to a red dot. It doesn't. It's not as fast. It's not as easy to acquire as just like an Aimpoint G2 or even a holographic sight like a Neotech. It's not the same. So that's one drawback on the 1x. 10x, it's a little distorted, tight eye box. Typically don't need 10x for the distances I shoot. Like I said, 0 to 600 yard gun. I don't need 10x magnification. I really don't. So the question is, what's the point? Why would you have a 1-10? Why do you use a 1-10, Ben? Well, I'll tell you, the 1x in this optic, or let's be honest, between 1 and 2x magnification is more like a backup red dot sight for me. This RMR is my primary 1x. I can go from 0 to 200 with this thing, no issues. It's plenty fast, plenty quick. So the 1x in here is kind of just like a backup. If this goes down, I know I can still use it. It's not as great as using a dot to the side or on the top, but it's definitely usable, particularly if you have good illumination. So the 1x in here, the 1.5x, kind of just acts as a backup red dot. I don't use it often. 10x, I don't use it for shooting. Like I said, I'm not trying to make hits on 10x. I don't need to do it. I don't have to do it. But what is nice about 10x is I can see stuff better. I can pick up detail. I can PID. Not so much for shooting, more for the other things you do with optics, visual stuff. That's what I use the 10x for. Mainly with this optic, I float in the 3 to 7 range. 3 all the way to 7. That's where I float on the magnification with this particular optic. 7, if it's a really small target, 500 or 600 yards, 7 will get the job done. 3, if I need a little bit of magnification inside of that, and everything in between. The reticle is the SR5. Like I said, it's a mil reticle. I like using mils. I don't like using BDC. I don't like using MOA because I'm more familiar with mil. So the mil is a great way to adjust for misses, calculate adjustments, and communicate adjustments with other shooters that are using mils as well. So SR5 reticle, I think they did a good job on the reticle in this optic. Another Benism I always say to folks, a bad optic will wreck a really great gun, and a bad reticle will wreck a really great optic. So it's nice to see a great reticle inside a very good piece of glass. Good job, EOTech. Glass clarity is what you would expect out of a $1,600 optic. Top notch, very clear glass from 1 to 10, except when you get to 10, you get a little bit of distortion, like I said, but through that magnification range, very clear, high quality glass. Again, great reticle paired with high quality glass. There's not much more you could ask for right there. There is no doubt in my mind that the Vudu 1-10 is a premium optic. It is. I've used the 1-8s. This 1-10 I think is even better. Again, you just have to be realistic with your expectations of any optic, honestly. You need to train with it, familiarize yourself with the optic so you can use it to its full potential. You got to understand where its deficiencies are and where it excels at. You typically, with any piece of glass, if you gain something, you're going to take something away. You can't really have your cake and eat it too with a lot of optics, with a lot of different types of optics. So I think this is a premium piece of glass, definitely worth the $1,600. One of the better LPVOs I've ever had in my collection. I would think it would serve anybody very well on their AR-15 or AR-10.
Ready.
Some things I change would be the speed ring inside of it, aka the donut of death. EOTech signature speed ring. It's not necessary. No one's going to use it. They also illuminated it, which is kind of weird. I feel like that was a waste. I would delete the speed ring. I get it. It's kind of their calling card, but it's just not necessary. I just don't I don't see myself using the EOTech speed ring in this optic. And the other one I mentioned earlier, which would be the brightness of the dot itself. I've had brand new batteries in it. I've talked to some other guys that have used these optics as well, and it's the same issue. Not exactly daytime bright. So those are the two things I would definitely change in this optic if we're being picky. Some of you probably wouldn't be a big issue. Those are the two that I could find. Guys, thank you for watching this video. Let me know what you think about the Vudu 1 to 10 or 1 to 10s. Are they here to stay, or are they gonna go away? Do they try to fix a problem that doesn't exist? Let me know your thoughts. Definitely want to talk about it. Go over to wisemancompany.com. That's the best way to support us. A lot of the gear you see in these videos, you can buy over at wisemancompany.com. And again, we appreciate all that support from you guys. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next video.